In this panel, we are welcoming a lot of esteemed guests who have been doing a lot of interesting stuff in their fields. So I'm just going to take a minute to introduce each and every speaker that is going to be following this overall panel, and then I'm going to discuss on the topic, which is the trends in healthcare investments that I think I can add value in terms of discussion. So we are joined with Mr. Chaitanya Shawant, who has a decade of experience working closely with digital marketing teams for enhancing customer experience and thereby driving brand recall and customer acquisition. He's an alum of IIM Ahmedabad. He's worked with premium strategy consulting firm Booz as well. So we probably have a lot to talk about. And he's also responsible for strategic counsel to various Fortune 500 companies. We are also joined by Mr. Sarvana Vivekanandan, who has 20 years of experience in healthcare sector in India, Europe, and the US. He has successfully launched and scaled HIS and EMR products in India, and has done multiple procuring projects in the state of Massachusetts as well. He's adept at ensuring measurable ROI at every technology investment for an enterprise. That's his brand, and he has an immense expertise in technology and procurement and even people management. Mr. Sharif, who is the CEO and Executive Director of Gibraltar, is also with us. He has 23 years of experience in high growth and domestic international markets. He has partnered with IIT Madras in creating the largest AI system for digital transactions, which is very impressive. And he was recently awarded by Joint Secretary of Financial Services, Government of India, for Most Innovative Product of the Year as well. And lastly, but definitely not the least, Mr. Santosh Kumar, who is the Senior Vice President of Car Technologies. He currently heads the sales and operations in the ME region. Mr. Santosh is known for his digital transformation advice, business acquiring skills, and remarkable proficiency in fostering customer experience and relationships. He brings in an uncanny acumen of managing large enterprises, which and the acumen is strategic in nature. And I'm really happy to have these esteemed guests in my panel. So thank you everyone for joining in. Now coming on to the topic of investing as such. Before really talking about investing, I think I want to spend just 30 seconds discussing the overall scenario and how that is impacting investing, because I think what we don't realize is that this current reality has impacted both health and wealth, right? Which are the two biggest assets for humans. We look at our health and we look at our wealth as well. And we've been talking a lot about health in the previous panel with the great doctors that we had in our panel. But it's also impacting our wealth. There has not been, at least in the last 100 years, where our health was being attacked and also our wealth, where we cannot go out and work to mitigate the health damage that a crisis has been generating. For example, a health crisis with low infection rate, you can still go out, work, and sort of create a mitigation to the health impact. But on the flip side, like a dot-com bubble burst that happened in 1999, our wealth was being attacked, but at least our health was safe. We could enjoy time with our loved ones, go out and have a good time. So that is this particular crisis for me sort of highlights the fact in the last 100 years we've never faced a situation like this, which is something that's creating a lot of issues for us. And it's not just altering the view of our health, but also how we view our nation's health, right? It's not just altering how we operate, but also how fast we're able to adapt. And lastly, but not the least, it's not just altering how we invest in different startups, but it has also disrupted how we look at investments and the key indicators of investments, if I may. So just to give the panelists and also the people listening in that healthcare investments in VC saw a jump of 40% from 2018 to 2019 in terms of the VC world. And that investment has reduced by about 60% in the first quarter of 2020, prorated, of course, to a particular quarter. So definitely what we see in terms of investing is that the investors are becoming more and more cautious. And so what does this healthcare demand and shaky finance footing mean for healthcare tech startups? I think what I can also give you are some anecdotes of people that I work with, because I work with a lot of different venture capitalists, and I think the common theme that us as investors, me as a individual investor, or or an institutional investor, is that they are more cautious in terms of understanding how much value the startup can not just bring in now, but also in the long term, and in the long term, making sure that the social distancing is being respected, and they can actually reinvent their overall business model itself. So, for example, I'll give you a quote that Judy Grant, who is a general partner with Canaan Partners, which is one of the biggest VC firms in healthcare investing. She told me that I think that, and I quote, I think that is something that we are going to force a discussion on how much the startup can adapt to the current norm and change their business model and become mission critical versus going with speed. So I think that sort of captures in terms of what are the additional things that investors or investing world is changing in. Um, and just to give you some sort of an idea for people who really are not very familiar with the topic, there are 5 key KPIs that usually investors look into for investing as such. No, we have burn rate, which is how much money you are burning in a startup. The customer onboarding, how fast you're getting the customers on board. The patient referrals and patient satisfaction, which is sort of how well people are happy with the acquisition cost and the lifetime cost. The key KPIs have not changed in terms of investing, but I think there is a qualitative layer on top that has been added in terms of the speed of adapting to a change that a startup can. That is really valuable, or at least looked at very in a very thick lens to really see if the startup can adapt to a change. The ability to create value with the new normal. Can you actually use multiple technologies such as virtual tokens or things that can adapt to the new normal? I think a lot of healthcare investing is focusing on that, and definitely the non-touch experience now, because most of the healthcare startups are all about bringing the community together. But given the new normal where the community cannot come together, I think that qualitative layer has been added on top of the current KPIs that we have. I would like to sort of give a conclusion to at least the discourse that I have, is that something that I heard from one of the smartest investors that I have been in touch with, is that he told me that the best companies get created out of the horrible disruptions that happen in the market. There were multiple examples that you see in the current startup industry, where most of them were created for a certain problem that came out of a disruption, right? And I think any company that is truly great in the next 10 years is a company that should not only just weather the storm, but also be part of the solution. And that is for me the sort of the bottom line in terms of investing. But when we look at all of the things that I've talked about, the KPIs and multiple things, I think the key thing that we see, apart from the fact that we need to support our healthcare system, is also that technology plays a big role, right? And I think it is becoming the cornerstone of overcoming this crisis.